We got a big boy card this weekend in the Middle East in Abu Dhabi. Per usual, the UFC likes to build beautiful cards in the Middle East, and we got one with UFC Abu Dhabi. Finally, Tom Aspinall is back and he's actually fighting someone, right? We went through this entire saga since he beat Curtis Blades back in July of 2023 that he was supposed to really fight Jon Jones, and he's been pushing to fight Jon Jones. And eventually what we all saw was really just Jon Jones decide to retreat into retirement rather than fighting this guy for the undisputed gold. Could have been Jon Jones' last final test of his career. Could have been the final nail in what would be a legendary and GOAT-defining career for Jon Jones. Still is a GOAT for sure, but it definitely taints his legacy a little bit, knowing that he ducked the young and hungry the champion. I'm losing the word right now that they call it, but anyways, we have Ciryl Gane stepping in, and Ciryl Gane, of course, French prominent heavyweight, probably one of the biggest heavyweight, highest ranking heavyweights and big names that Tom Aspinall hasn't faced, which I guess is the reason why he's getting this undeserved title shot. I mean, you also have Alexander Volkov on the card, who arguably beat him in their last fight in UFC 310. So Volkov really should be in this position, getting his second chance to fight Tom Aspinall. But here you go, Ciryl Gane with, what is it? I think his fourth title shot in his career. So yeah, Ciryl Gane, in this position right now, I think we can all pretty much agree. I think almost everyone's going to be saying this weekend Tom Aspinall's about to smoke Ciryl Gane, but we'll get more in-depth on it. Let's also look at the rest of the card. By the way, last night, Vancouver did not see that coming. Did not see Brendan Allen making Reinier de Ridder quit at all. Brendan Allen really just absolutely outdogged Reinier de Ridder in those final couple rounds. In the beginning, Reinier de Ridder was looking like it was going to be a normal performance for him, but Brendan Allen making some noise. I really thought he was kind of a mediocre type of talent, but he just beat the number 4 guy, and we thought Reinier de Ridder could be a future champ. So yeah, that's kind of Reinier de Ridder's fraud check moment, but he's still very good. He still could beat a lot of the guys in this division, but Brendan Allen just made the guy quit before the 5th round. So Brendan Allen's now in this unique position of being in conversations again as a top contender, because I looked back at his record, and really before his 2 losses to Anthony Hernandez and Nasser Imavov, he was on a pretty big win streak, and now he's riding a 2-fight win streak versus Marvin Vettori. Reinier de Ridder, I don't think that he should fight Fluffy Hernandez again, because Fluffy Hernandez already beat him, and Fluffy deserves better than that. And then there's also, of course, there's Kyle Borralho, there's Sean Strickland, maybe fights Israel Adesanya, because you got Nasruddin Imavov is probably going to get the title shot now. It looks a little more clear-cut. Nobody's beating Khamzat, though. Yeah, that's a little bit of what happened last night. UFC Vancouver, Kevin Holland lost decision to Mike Maylott and Marlon Vera. And Imzabi, great war, but some people are saying Marlon Vera got robbed. I would have given it to Marlon Vera. They keep on giving this guy Ayman Zahabi these fights. But anyways, back to Abu Dhabi. So most of the fights are on the page. I know there's one really good fight missing, which is Nasrat Hakparas versus Quillan Skiljild, whatever his name is. I have it over here. Salkild. Nasrat Hakparas on a really pretty good win streak. 18-5. Just came off the win versus Ribovics in a pretty entertaining fight. He's taking on an up-and-coming, on-fire Australian prospect in Quillan Salkild, who smoked through Ansu Jubilee in his first fight with that crazy, first 20 seconds KO. And then he had another win. So that's the only fight I could think of that I need to mention. So, right. Azad Maxim versus Mitch Raposo, little flyweight bout. You got the wow, like big boy, big boy Chris Barnett. Didn't this guy like twist his ankle or something in a fight and like couldn't fight? I don't know. I saw this thing where like he had some like stupid reason where he had to like then pull out of a fight. And how is he from Spain? To be honest, I'm not trying to like challenge anybody's ethnicity, but I don't see like how is this guy from Spain? He's taking on Hamdi Abdelwahab from Egypt. Little big boy heavyweight bout. And obviously, from record's sake, Chris Barnett has a lot more experience. But Hamdi Abdelwahab looks kind of interesting. You know? Whatever. That's that fight. You got Jose Miguel Delgado, who came off a really cool win in his last fight. I think he beat Haider Amil. Right? He had like this big knockout moment. Yeah, KO TKO versus Haider Amil. So far undefeated in his UFC run, 10-1. Exciting featherweight that just put it on the map for me. He's taking on Nathaniel Wood. Nathaniel Wood's been on putting together a little bit of a win streak too. I think he beat Morgan Charrier. He beat the other guy in his last fight. This is going to be a good featherweight bout to start warming us up in these prelims with Jose Delgado. But we still got to see more of him. Not sure yet how legit he is, but it's a good start. Abdul Karim Al-Salwadi versus Mateusz Camilo. Don't know who the hell these guys are. Mateusz Rebecki has put 2 fight of the years in his last 2 fights. This guy versus Miritek Orabai and versus Chris Duncan has put on some of the craziest wars I've ever seen. This guy does not have a boring fight. He is leaving every fight just bloodied to a pulp. This guy is getting, I mean, he's losing in there too. But he beat Orabai actually, but he lost to Chris Duncan. That was one of the craziest fights I've ever seen versus Chris Duncan. So Mateusz Rebecki, just an absolute savage in the octagon. Do not expect this to be a boring fight. I know Ludovic Klein just lost to Gamrot. I didn't even really watch that fight. I don't know. Is he like a grappler wrestler? Like what kind of style is this guy? I just don't. I expect this to be an absolute war because Mateusz Rebecki, and I think Rebecki's going to bounce back. I don't know much about Ludovic Klein. Okay, so call me a casual, but I'm going Mateusz Rebecki with an absolute war. Featured prelim Ikram Alaskarov versus Jun Young Park. Ikram Alaskarov has been a little bit inactive. He had a few fights booked, and they've all been, like, canceled. But his last win, coming off Andre Muniz at Kansas City, of course, we know Ikram Alaskarov took that short notice fight versus Robert Whittaker and got KO'd within the first round. But he's finished all his other fights by KO, TKO finish. So still a young budding prospect in the middleweight division. Of course, you know, one of these crazy Russians. He's taking on the Iron Turtle, I believe this guy Nick's name is, Jun Young Park. Also coming off a win, which I think was a finish. So this is another cool fight. And I think I'm going to go with Ikram Alaskarov. It's hard to pick against a guy like Ikram Alaskarov. But who knows, you know? Jun Young Park. So great prelims, right? And remember, Nasrat Haqparast versus Krylan Salkid is also on this card. Now we get to the main card. Alexander Rakic versus Azamat Muzakanov. Now, Rakic is this clear example, classic example of a light heavyweight, like, who's been hovering that, like, top 7 last few fights, the last 2 years or so. He's been in the conversations, but he just hasn't been able to get over the edge over, like, UFC light heavyweight's best, right? He lost to Yuri Prohaska. He lost to Magomed Ankalaev at UFC 308. He's like that. He's kind of like that gatekeeper in the top 7 that light heavyweights can use to get over him to getting higher rankings. He's just kind of like that middle ground kind of guy. I mean, I just want to look again. Yeah, dude, he's on a 3-fight losing streak to Jan Blachowicz, Prohaska, and Magomed Ankalaev. His wins are versus Anthony Smith, Santos, and a bunch of other random guys. who has he really beaten? I mean, he was kind of really like outclassing Yuri Prochazka at their UFC 300 matchup, but we all know that Yuri Prochazka turns it up in later rounds. And Yuri Prochazka's last 3 wins, every time he just turns it up and outdogs his opponent in the later rounds of the fight and like destroys them and then throws them to the ground and finishes them. But so Rakic hasn't really shown us any legitimate wins in his career, but he's still kind of like that middle tier light heavyweight. He's taking on Azamat Muzakanov. Nobody really wants to fight this guy. He's a sleeper, the dark horse of the light heavyweight division. He's coming up slowly but surely, 15-0. Low-key, one of the few, really few, heavier weight class undefeated guys. He's had a couple fights booked and canceled. So yeah, his wins include Jacoby, Alonzo Menefield, Ribeiro. I just want to see who he was supposed to fight and that got canceled. So right, he had Johnny Walker and Nikita Krylov, both canceled bouts, and Khalil Roundtree. I don't think it's all because of them ducking, but yeah. So Azamat Muzakanov, this will be my first time really watching an Azamat Muzakanov fight. So I think Azamat Muzakanov is going to get it done. Improve to 16-0. Alexander Rakic, I don't know. He's not that good. He's good enough to, stay within the top 10, probably. But, yeah, I feel like Azamat Muzakanov is one of these sleeper guys that's going to be a future top 5 guy later on. That's just what it feels like. So, we're going to see how this fight goes with Azamat Muzakanov and Alexander Rakic. Then, the heavyweight bout between Jailton Almeida versus Alexander Volkov. The UFC is definitely going to set this up as a number 1 contenders fight. Whoever wins this will be Tom Aspinall's next challenger, because you really don't have many options, as we know, in the heavyweight division. Alexander Volkov is like the UFC's version of Ivan Drago from Rocky, one of the tallest fighters in the UFC, 6'7". And yeah, Volkov got absolutely robbed in his last fight versus Ciryl Gane. He should really be this main event, to be honest. And Dana White said he was going to take care of him, but I don't see this being taken care of him when he's got Jailton Almeida. Now, Jailton Almeida, dude, this guy's a monster. This guy's really big. He took that loss to Curtis Blades, but now he's riding another 2-fight win streak versus Romanov and Sergey Spivak. He's beating guys like Rosenstrike, Derek Lewis. So Jailton Almeida could be someone that could be a suitable next challenge for Tom Aspinall. He's got great grappling. I think some good power. But if you ask me, him taking a matchup with Tom Aspinall, I think Tom Aspinall with his quick hands, his power, just Tom Aspinall being the elite, well-rounded heavyweight that he is. Really, with any of these guys, I think we all think that Tom Aspinall's going to run laps on these guys. Alexander Volkov, right? Sergey Spivak, Tai Tuivasa, Romanov. Pretty big win streak since that loss versus Tom Aspinall a couple of years ago. So, yeah, big boy matchup. I think Jailton Almeida. I think Jailton Almeida is going to get it done. But I don't know. Alexander Volkov's huge with a nice height advantage. Maybe Alexander Volkov. I don't know. I think we're going to see a lot of grappling in this rather than striking. So maybe Jailton Almeida is just going to be better in the grappling department. Yeah, that's Jailton Almeida versus Alexander Volkov. Then Umar Nurmagomedov versus Mario Bautista. I've been saying this in the bantamweight conversation, but I think Umar Nurmagomedov does have the best chance at beating Merab a second time. That's it. I don't see anyone else beating Merab. But Umar, of course, came off that loss to Merab, his first professional loss, kind of tainting the Nurmagomedov name a little bit. Khabib only wants to see undefeated guys in his camps, but It's fine. Umar probably came back from that camp realizing he needs to work on his cardio a little bit more if he wants to hang with Merab. So I think with a win here, Umar definitely could be back in that conversation. I mean, by the time Umar could heal back up from this fight and be ready to go, Merab will have probably beaten Peter Yan, and then you could definitely just run that rematch again. Because, who else is going to fight Merab at that point? Unless Merab moves up, which he definitely maybe could do. He definitely will have earned it after defending his 4th time in a year. So Umar or Mario Bautista, really any of these guys. Whoever wins this is going to be Merab's next title defense. And I think Mario Bautista, while he's had this nice win streak, and he's definitely one of the most hated fighters in the UFC because of his boring pressure grappling style, although he did have more of on-the-feet exchanges with Patchy Mix and kind of was dancing on him. I think Mario Bautista meets his match here with a wrestler as elite as Umar Nurmagomedov, of course, being trained by Khabib, Islam, Usman. I think Umar Nurmagomedov is the guy that is going to finally take Mario Bautista to the deep waters, and that we don't have to see Mario Bautista win anymore because he's just not an exciting fighter. He's just a decision machine, as you can see. Well, these 2 wins were submissions, but just his last couple fights were boring decisions, just flat personality. Nothing too exciting about him. So cool little featured bout between Umar and Mario Bautista, and I'm going with Umar. So we got Muzakanov, Almeida, and Umar so far as my picks. Verna Jandiroba versus Mackenzie Dern in the women's strawweight title fight. This is because Zhang Weili is moving up to take on Valentina Shevchenko in a women's super fight. So we got Verna Jandiroba versus Mackenzie Dern. And yeah, don't have much to say because I don't watch any of the UFC women's fights, except I'm going to watch Zhang Weili versus Valentina Shevchenko. That fight is the only women's fight I would ever be interested in. Or maybe Kayla Harrison versus, what's her name? Amanda Nunes. Other than that, I don't really care about who wins this fight, but just for the heck of it, I'm going to be picking Verna Jandiroba. She just looks too crazy. And then finally, Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane. Tom Aspinall, right? Shortest average fight time in the UFC. Just a crazy statistic about him. We haven't seen him really go anywhere past the first round. He keeps on finishing everyone in the first few minutes of a fight with his quick striking, quick hands, could grapple and wrestle with you. Super rounded champion. I mean, Tom Aspinall was robbed of so much time before this. We just got to remember how long we've been waiting for this guy to get back in there. Since he beat Curtis Blaydes within a minute, he took no damage. He was ready to go. Wanted the biggest challenge of his life versus the GOAT of the sport and heavyweight champion at the time, Jon Jones. Couldn't get it. So, listen, if Tom Aspinall wins this, which obviously we think there's probably a 90% chance he will, then, who knows? Maybe he will finally fight Jon Jones on the White House card. But now that Pereira's in the picture, maybe Tom Aspinall fights Pereira, maybe Pereira fights Jones, and they leave Tom Aspinall as the odd man out. I see a lot of these big MMA YouTubers, notably my favorite, Lucas Tracy, saying how the UFC, and he's right, the UFC's barely been promoting Tom Aspinall in the ways they should. This is your new guy, this is the champion, the one who made Jon, but people kind of leave him out in these conversations of he's actually the heavyweight champion. If anything, Alex Pereira should be fighting him, not Jon Jones, and have that chance for that 3rd title. So yeah, we know that Tom Aspinall has ran through all the biggest names this division has to offer in this super weak heavyweight division. Ciryl Gane's been the only, I guess you could say, big name in the higher rankings that has not fought Tom Aspinall yet. So whatever, the UFC gave him this robbery decision so that he could end up being put in this position to fight Tom Aspinall. And I know it's been he fought Curtis Blaydes, Pavlovich, Marcin Tybura. He only lost to Curtis Blaydes because he tore his ACL. Volkov, Spivak, just all these guys. So there's really nobody else besides Almeida and Volkov. Maybe for a second time, there's nobody else. Like, so yeah, Ciryl Gane, the guy has been, I guess, doing movies in between his fights. French fighter, tactical striker, also has pretty well moves of striking on the feet for a heavyweight. Spivak, Volkov put together a nice 2-win streak before they got submitted by Jon Jones. When Jon Jones came back, KO'd Taito Ivasa. But he beat Derek Lewis, lost to Nagano. He's fought the who's who in history of this division. So, Ciryl Gane versus Tom Aspinall. The clear-cut pick we're going to go with here is Tom Aspinall. And I don't even have much to say else on this. I'm usually more excited about. It's a good collection of fights. Just personally, not like a lot of fighters that I personally enjoy and I'm interested in fighting, but nonetheless, it's a great pay-per-view. I'm excited to just see Tom Aspinall end up getting some kind of KO finish. Might not be in the first round, but he's probably going to get it. And then after this weekend, everyone's going to be talking about what's next for Tom Aspinall. Should he wait until the White House? This, that. What's going to be? So, this is UFC Abu Dhabi this weekend. I got Tom Aspinall by finish. And, until next time.